Greetings viewers. On today's video I want to discuss about Southeast region having access to sea, that's the Atlantic Ocean. This is the closest sea within the shores of Nigeria. So I've read many ignorant minds, uninformed individuals saying that Southeast is a landlocked region. Southeast is not landlocked. Southeast have access to the sea via River Niger. Then there's another river, that's the Azumini River in Abia State. But the issue with Azumini River is that Azumini River is a local waterways. For Southeast to have access to Atlantic Ocean, is the shortest route to Atlantic Ocean is about 45 kilometers to Atlantic Ocean when compared to River Niger. That's from Obaro, which is the closest town, the last town in Anambra State before Delta State, before you link up to River Niger. So the issue with Azumili River is a local waterways. For us to have access to Atlantic Ocean, it means we have to go through two states. That's Akwa Ibom and River States. So now there is no, what many don't understand, because I've seen, I've heard the current governor of Anambra, of Abia State, sorry, Governor Alex Oti, saying that he's planning to dredge Azumili River from Abia to Atlantic Ocean. I don't think it's possible, except he was able to negotiate with the governors, the two governors in Niger Delta, that's Akwa Ibom and River States, because that river from Azumili to Atlantic Ocean, you have to go through these two states before you have access to Atlantic Ocean. And there is no law, it's not an international waterway, there is no law that neighboring state, that allow neighboring state to have free navigation to Atlantic Ocean. So you can't just come into someone territory like Akwa Ibom side. You can dredge that of Abia State section, but you can't come to Akwa Ibom or River State to start dredging their river without them giving you the permission. So you don't have that access, except that river is an international waterway. Then you have law guiding the neighboring state or country that will allow you to have freedom of navigation. So that doesn't exist in that river. So I don't see how it is possible to dredge from Azumili to Atlantic Ocean, except the governor was able to negotiate with the two governors, like I said earlier. But it's had to be a treaties that will not, even if they say yes now, how about tomorrow another governor might come in there and say no. Another thing that you know that is the politics that is involved, because Abia State being a commercial state, most of states like Niger Delta, especially River State and Akwa Ibom, most of them come to Aba to get their goods. So their only bargaining power is that access to sea. Their major bargaining power, is access to sea. So if they allow you to dredge to have access to sea from Aba to Niger Delta, it then means that what they are planning, like the deep sea port they are planning to dredge in Akwa Ibom, it means it will be totally useless, because those that they are dredging it for is those businessmen. They are the major users in Abia States and probably Anambra States. So same thing with River States. When you have access from Aba to Atlantic Ocean, it means that Onne Seaport or Port Harcourt Seaport, they are totally useless because major users of those ports are businessmen in Onitsha and Abia State. So let's just be realistic. So this is the politics that is involved in that area. So coming down to a river in southeast region is River Niger. So River Niger is an international waterway. So there is no how southeast is landlocked. River Niger, southeast self is even lucky when compared to the north or other African countries like Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, and other areas, including Cameroon. So now, what people don't realize is this. There is an international law governing River Niger. You can't stop anybody from free navigation on that river. It's being governed by international law. Let me just read it out, at least for you all to understand, because many are ignorant about this. Just bear with me. You can also do that on your own. Like, for example, now, the River Niger is an international waterway. It traverses and crosses the borders of 9 African nations: Guinea, Mali, Niger, Benin, Nigeria, and many others, before emptying into Atlantic Ocean. So, because it's another legal framework governing River Niger. There's a 9 acts and agreements. That was the foundational international framework that was established by the acts regarding the navigation and economic cooperation between the states of the River Niger basin. That's 1963. And the agreement concerning the River Niger Commission, that's in 1964. The agreement was reversed in 1973, recognizes the river as an international waterway, ensuring free navigation and non-discriminatory taxation for all riparian states. Then the River Niger Basin Water Chart, signed by 9 member states. This comprehensive contract establishes legal principles for the equitable utilization, protection, and sustainable management of rivers resources. Then international convention. The River Niger is also protected by border international watercourse laws, such as the UN Watercourse Convention and Water Convention, which mandates equitable and reasonable use. So, like I said earlier, the River Niger is an international waterways, and southeast, they are very lucky that they are very close at the mouth of the River Niger. If you know how that river traverses from far, from Niger, far north, so many 9 African countries, and where it emptied is through the Niger Delta. So the only states, only southeastern states that share common boundary, that's Delta states, Bayelsa State is and River State is Anambra State. That's to Atlantic Ocean. And the last town to Atlantic Ocean in Anambra State before Niger Delta is Obaro. So River Niger is more closer from Obaro to Atlantic Ocean than when you compare the distance from Onitsha to Atlantic Ocean. So from what is showing on your screen, when you check the distance from Onitsha to Atlantic Ocean is about 214.58 kilometers. Then from Obaro, that's Akiliogidi Obaro, that's the last town from Anambra State before Atlantic Ocean, is 172.81 kilometers. So it transverses through, the River Niger transverses through Yenagoa, that's Bayelsa, and Warri. So like I said earlier, the shortest to Atlantic Ocean, that's from southeast, is through Abia State, that's Azumini, but the distance is 45.89 kilometers. But the issue we have with Azumini is that it's not an international waterway and it's not being governed by any law. So the disadvantage going through that route, you may dredge tomorrow. The states that you share common boundary with might say no, or even if they might not even allow it because of the politics that is involved, like I said. So, but if assuming it's an international waterway, that's the shortest means to get to Atlantic Ocean. That's if there is freedom of navigation, that's the easiest channel for Southeast to get to Atlantic Ocean. But from Obaro is 172 kilometers. And there is freedom of navigation. So those saying that Southeast is landlocked, Southeast is not landlocked. Southeast is not landlocked. Even the North, they also have access to the sea through that River Niger. And nobody can stop the members from freedom of navigation. What it requires is dredging. And I've seen countless times, most of our people saying that the present governor of Anambra State, Professor Soludo, should dredge the River Niger. It's not easy to dredge River Niger. It's only federal government that can do that. So the money involved, remember that I told you that during the time of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, that he awarded the contract, that's dredging of River Niger, for the cost of 38 billion then, when dollar was still 135 naira. Unlike now that dollar is almost 136. So when you check the cost now, you know that it's not possible for state government to handle such a massive project. 172 kilometers from Ihialau. When you check from Onitsha, it's almost 210 kilometers. So it will be very hard for state government to dredge and constant maintenance. Because one thing with dredging, you don't just dredge and go to sleep. You dredge and continue maintaining that waterways. And that area now, the waterways, River Niger is under exclusive list. So state government can't handle such a project except federal government. And that was the reason why the former president, at least the Northerners, also fighting for the opening up the River Niger. Because one thing with that, the advantage, like I said earlier, the advantage that we had is before North, you have to go through Onitsha. So there is no how you would dredge River Niger without going through Onitsha. Because from Atlantic Ocean, Delta State, then Anambra State, before Benue, Kogi, Niger State. So you have to go through Onitsha. So for you to dredge River Niger, it will go through Onitsha. So no matter how long it will take, that's the only means it will be dredged. That's the thing. And Southeast is not landlocked. Like I said, there is international law, just like what is happening in between US and between Iran and other Arabian countries at the Persian Gulf. If you go through the map, you see how the Persian Gulf, where it's emptied, that's the Arabian Sea. The mouth of the sea, that's the countries at the mouth of the shoreline is Iran and Oman. Then the next country is United Arab Emirates. that's Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Kuwait. Now, because Iran and Oman, Iran is insisting that they blocked Strait of Hormuz, that those countries at the present Gulf can't have access to Atlantic Ocean. Because for you to have access to those nations, you have to go through Iran and Oman before you have access. But what the US, they are insisting that Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway. So you can block other nations, you can tax other nations at the Persian Gulf not to use the Strait of Hormuz. There is freedom of navigation according to international law. So, but you know, Iran, after the destruction, they are just finding means to get money to be able to rebuild their countries. So I'm just trying to use that as a case study. So once there is international law governing the waterways, nobody can stop anybody from using it, especially the nations where the river transverses.
They are landlocked. Southeast is not landlocked. Those saying such, they are just ignorant. They don't understand what is going on. There are so many inland ports across the world. For example, in Brazil, port of Manaus, located on the Rio Negro, a major tributary of the Amazon River. Despite being 1,500 kilometers, the inland waterways allows large transatlantic cargo ship to navigate. Talk more of here, southeast, that's from Obaro, that's Akile Ogidi is 178 kilometers. From Onitsha is 200 and something kilometers, compared to Port of Manano that is 1,500 kilometers. Just do your research and cure your ignorance.